Welcome to the dialogue on well-being. I'm delighted today to have Arun Jain with me for this dialogue. I met Arun about 30 years ago in Dharamshala, if I remember correctly, in a leadership retreat. And I still remember the enthusiasm and the goals he set there. And today we'll find out how he has done with those goals. And it has been a long time, Arun. It was so good to see you. Thank you so much for your valuable time. To the outside world, Arun is known as founder of Polaris and Intellect and an industrialist, investor, and a philanthropist. For me, Arun is an icon of simplicity, humility, and innovation. And talking about innovation, Arun has used design thinking into uplifting and bringing a major, massive transformation for the rural development. And today I'm really excited to get his ideas on how do we apply design thinking into well-being. So Arun, what does well-being mean to you? And then we'll take it from there. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh. 30 years relationship is a long-term relationship. So it's nice to see you and talking from a two end of the earth, basically, I think, to a lot apart. So thank you for considering me for this dialogue.
So what does well-being mean to you?
I think the well-being is as the defined in 4 paradigms on physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. I think that's a core definition. But well-being is a holistic word in Hindi vocabulary. We say darshan, gyan, charitra. Well-being, आपका जो दर्शन है, your darshan defines what your worldview is. Your darshan defines how you look at the things, and well-being is in relation to that darshan. Because well-being is not about what physically you are, how rich you are, how intellectually sound you are. Well-being is what your self-image, and from that lens, what you see yourself, the half glass full versus half glass empty. That's more internal to you rather than external to you. So a lot of time we start in a blame mode, but it's about what personally, internally, I look at myself as my image in comparison to anybody else, or I don't compare myself with anybody else. So there's no need of being comparative to anybody else. So well-being has multiple dimensions of it. There's no one dimension of it. Not being comparative, not being attached, not being stressed, reframing the calamities, what comes to your life. All are elements which constitute a well-being.
Thank you. And why it has become so important in your view in the past few years, especially after pandemic?
To me, I think well-being is important from the beginning. I would not say pandemic. Obviously, pandemic, the word well-being has become more dominant post-pandemic as a well-being because it's a more physically, which is the survival instinct of the human mind. Since it is survival, that it becomes much more important. But for any successful organization of any institution, its well-being is most critical function in anybody else's journey. So a good organization, a healthy organization, is the organization with a healthy mind, and healthy mind is the outcome of a physical health of a well-being. So now normally the corporate world in Western world has become dominant with a one parameter called economic parameter. And that's why the greed comes in very, very quickly, because if it's aligned to one parameter, if you align the organization with the bonuses and the only the reward, which is the financial in nature, that particular greed factor can destroy the fabric of the institution, because every institution has a fabric, and that's what we call culture.
No, you're right on. And I think I wish this people, I would have realized it earlier. Many of us realize it later in life that how important the balance is between all factors. And a lot of organizations are paying lip service or well-being. But if you look at the culture and the expected behavior, employees are totally eccentric and working towards only one goal or at the most 2 goals. So what advice or what can be done in that organization, if the CEO really is committed to well-being? What would be the process in your mind?
I think it's a complex process for the corporate world. I think we are in imitation mode in India. We imitate West. I think we are not realizing the power of our fundamental ethos, which is a holistic transformation, not individual transformation or financial transformation or economic transformation. We always look at it, everything is from family, from individual to family to organization. All are is an integrated space, including society after that. So all the 4 dimensions of individual to family to organization to society, all are so intermingled, you can't separate them into boxes. And that's where the Western world has never understood that thing. In Hindu philosophy, we say ahimsa, anekantvad, aparigraha. The 3 A's are there. So ahimsa is point when you don't think negative about somebody else, you always get a positive vibes to you. And it's about a sign of collaboration. Anekantvad is a sign of creativity, because when you have multiple thoughts, then only you can get into creativity. And when you have aparigraha, when you're not non-attached to the results and outcome, and you have a agility to keep innovating, that's become aparigraha. And all these 3 principles, if it apply in any organizational context or individual context or a society context, it drives huge amount of positive energy. And fundamentally, creativity is the outcome of the environment what we are living with. We are only the receiver of that energy, which drives our thought process, which drives our self-image, and which drives the innovation afterwards.
Yeah, that's totally aligns with my thinking. And I think my question is, how do you apply the design thinking, which I think you have been a pioneer, and I read your discoveries and applying the design thinking into various different areas. So how can we apply the design thinking into well-being paradigm?
I think 2007, when I was visiting Silicon Valley, Dinesh, I met you that time. What I saw different experience in Silicon Valley. I saw that there's a whole school of management which works on a maximization and optimization. The 2 principles are there in management theory. All the business schools are teaching only 2 things. How do you maximize the resources? How you optimize the processes?
Mm-hmm.
While the 2 other words, possibilities and opportunities, were completely missed out in case of a management theories. And design thinking starts from the possibilities of customer, unmet needs of the customer, and the opportunities which it generates. And that was eye-opener for me, that if I have to start the next organization after Polaris, it should be coming from a design thinking perspective, because design thinking perspective started in 92, while MBA started in 1908 and Harvard, and design thinking started in Stanford. And when I came back, I put lot of programs and a lot of courses to make that culture shift. We in India used to be seen as the order takers. So entire software industry was seen as the order taker. Some Western world will define the order and will execute and do the coding. How do you move from an order taker to problem solver to agenda setter? And a product companies are those companies which set the agenda in the market. They set the agenda that how world will use my technology. And it's a big transformation for me to transform our 5,000 people organization to something like a agenda setter organization, which is being over the 20 years built on the premise of order taker. How do you tomorrow I start saying in 10 years I would become an agenda setter? I look at it, it can only change when you change the design, the thinking of the people first, and then you follow the design thinking process. So what the Western world is understanding, there are 2 things. They are understanding the design process of design, process of innovation, idea theories, desirability, feasibility, viability. They are all revolves around the process of solving the problem. But fundamentally, before solving the problem, you need to prepare the soil of the mind, because all the innovations happen from the soil, which should be organically germinating. So it has to have a organic content into it, which enables the thought to germinate into it. And that organic content can only come when you spend time in designing the thinking of the people, and that's where we start following the design thing. 10 years back, 2013, way back, we set up a 30,000 square feet design center, 30,000 square feet, large space to create like a temple of knowledge, temple of thinking. We set it up in Chennai. Idea was that my 5,000 people, I cannot take them to Silicon Valley, but I can take them to the place where they can see what are the possibilities are there, what opportunities are there, and then start moving towards next journey from Polaris to intellect to drive the change which is there. And third journey is social change. So these are three journeys which happened during the design thinking.
Thank you. I remember vividly when I came, I think it was 2019, 4 years ago, you showed me the whole building and I loved it. The way you have designed the center itself was amazing. So from order taker to agenda setter, I like that. And that transformation you were able to achieve. And this has been a struggle for many years for many Indian companies to create that mindset. And design thinking obviously is helping changing that mindset. So how do we apply this mindset for the well-being of employees? I'll give an example. We have, whenever we think of a birthday, we immediately think of cake and pizza and ice cream for many people. But now, if we think of well-being, then the birthday has to be a different paradigm. The food has to become not entertainment, but food has to be nourishment. One simple example. Now, how do we apply design thinking principles for shifting paradigm of our employees from food as entertainment to food as nourishment? Just to start with.
Yeah. A good question on food, starting from the food. I think the way celebration should be looked at it, if we have to go to deeper into celebration, what do you mean by celebration? And celebrations are something which inspires you, which energizes you. It's a moment of reflection. And that's what celebrations is all about. And today, when we are in imitation mode, we just do the imitation. Okay. The food will change when our thinking will change, as the cake to anything else. We stop and in intellect, when we celebrate the birthday, we don't put the candle off. We say light the candle. It's a one symbolic step we have taken, that when we celebrate the birthday in the company, we light the candle, not extinguish the candle. It's a symbol of saying birthday is a day when you light something new thought in your mind, bring a new change in your life, rather than just extinguishing the candle. I don't know from where this process has come in, that you extinguish something which is supposed to be lighted.
Yeah, you're right on, because actually we always light up whenever we start anything as a symbol of light, which is wisdom, right. And so you're right. Yeah. Lighting the candle makes more sense. Yeah.
So lighting a diya, we actually take a diya and we light a diya on the birthday celebration and intellect. I think we need to have small steps to change the well-being, because these are symbolic steps. These are cutting a cake or good food habits. They are all symbols are there.
Right.
We created our content. Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, I think what I hear you say, you're saying that we have to get out of our self-identity from being imitator to being innovator. We don't need to imitate anyone. We need to discover who we are and just follow our own bliss.
Beautiful. That's the right way to put it. Discover who you are and being confident of what you are. And we do no agenda meetings. So one of the important points, Dinesh, we institutionalize the process, no agenda meeting. We have a full day meeting and no agenda is published. And a lot of Western people who are working in the company, since we have offices in 37 countries, and those participate in those meetings, they feel, what do you mean by a no agenda meeting? And being a chairman of the company, I say that, do I know the agenda, or is it my agenda, or is it your agenda? Right, which agenda we are discussing? If you want to discuss my agenda, then I'll publish the agenda. If you want to let that agenda evolve and discover what the issues are there, let it be a dialogue. And dialogue can continue among the community to find out what are the things which are the opportunities, possibilities, and problems in the companies are. And it comes out sometime, so many blind spots get cleared out during this no agenda meetings, which is so marvelous to And when those discovery happens, the well-being of the people, they feel good about it and they get inspired by it because it's their agenda which is getting solved, not the agenda of a chairman or agenda of a CEO.
Well, that's lovely because it reminded me of the last time I saw you dancing, Sahab Main to Sala Main to Sahab ban gaya, right? That was a open space technology, if you remember, and
Yeah,
it was in Rajasthan, I think.
yeah,
Uh,
Nimrana.
Nimrana, right.
Yeah,
And we had no agenda. Like people, I think the best part of those kind of non-agenda meetings is the ownership principle, I call. I think the
yeah,
people begin to talk about what is relevant to them, what is important to them. And you're absolutely right. If you set the agenda, then it's a chairman's agenda or CFO's agenda or CEO's agenda. But
yeah,
now the real agenda pops up. And so talking about ownership principle, I think in wellness, the first step you pointed out is that we have to change our self-identity of who we are and explore that. And number two, I think you gave us, we need to create an organization, an opportunity for employees to say what well-being means to them rather than,
that's
if you remember the processes we used to use, the shared ownership processes where we had
that's
thousands of.
right.
Right. So if we can, I visualize if we can have a process where we have 5,000 employees and we ask them, what does well-being mean to you? And once they describe what well-being means to them, then as leaders, I think our job becomes to facilitate that. And
That's
there, I
right.
think
That's
your
right.
design principles can be very, very helpful in shifting the
Yeah.
paradigm.
And that's right. And I think that's what we do circle time. Normally, with this bubbling up happens, we follow Krishnamurti principles of circle times. Make 20
Okay.
people sit in a circle and hold hand and uh, just have some conversation. What good happened last week and what good happen next week, or what you are good at, what you are enjoying at, what feeling you are having today at this moment of time. A simple conversation where every 20 people speak together in a circle time. Otherwise, in corporate world, only manager speaks and everybody else listens.
Right.
It changes the whole process of well-being because people being heard itself is a very positive emotion in the employee mind that they are being in circle. They are not a there's no head of the table, but they are on a circle. So it's
Absolutely.
interesting.
I think there is so much scientific data to support why these circles are so powerful for
Mhm.
transformation. Because
That's right.
if you look at the maximum change, Alcoholic Anonymous or any organization, and my personal experience and your experience, I think a lot of people know what they need to do. The problem is how
Mhm.
do we change it? So support is so powerful because if I want
Mhm.
to go for a walk, if alone I may not do that, but if I have a friend, if Arun knocks at 6 o'clock at my door, I
Yeah, yeah,
will get up and I will go.
yeah.
So
Sure.
I think the idea of support and the circle is can be also a very important. So this is where I think organization and leaders can help their employees. I think you're hitting on the key point is providing those kind of circles where employees can change their habits towards more well-being habits. And now, how do we get into the emotional habits? Because in the past, my friend Liz Wiseman says we have looked at employees as a sliced employees. We didn't care, especially in the West. We do not want to talk about their emotions, what's going on in their family, home. I think in the Eastern world, there is more openness. We can talk about
Mhm.
emotions. Can we also talk about concepts like living your life emotionally, intelligently, and talking about concepts like forgiveness, accepting
Mhm.
people, which are, some of those concepts are more spiritual concepts, but can we talk about them in our organizations?
Beautiful point you raised. We call it 13 notes for a well-being. You build up skills, you build up expertise, you build perspective, you build up ideas, and you build alignment. That is 5 elements are known to everybody. This is called
Okay.
SAPIA. We call it acronym SAPIA.
Mhm.
But the 5 elements are not being talked about. I have a doubt. I have a conflict. I have a anger. I'm angry. I'm fearful. I am living in an ego. I am vulnerable. I need to appreciate. I have a limiting belief. Now, these 8 elements are not, they're taboo to talk in a corporate vocabulary.
Right.
And if these 8 elements are critical, they are the 8 fictional forces in human mind. Those remain under the carpet.
Mhm. Mhm.
And those are what Vikram Lal was mentioning, stress. These 8 elements causes a stress, whether it's a conflict happening, it's anger happening, anger within you, anger, expressed anger versus suppressed anger, fear or ego or self-image, all are contributing to your overall index of emotional well-being. And emotional well-being, once you open out the can of worms using and start sharing to the performance development dialogue. So we encourage the people, our development dialogue. We have a set of 15 questions which are more exploratory questions. Our performance appraisal system is more driven by the performance development dialogue. And we call it dialogue, it's not an appraisal, because it's a dialogue between the supervisor to discover what potential the person is having. So the entire process we have put it, and those are the real people when they come back, when they reflect on their question, what their emotional well-being is, they first time write in a verbose. We don't say rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. We say write down 200 words about it. How do you feel? What movie do you like? What family you have gone out? Which trips you remember? And we have family gifts we normally give Diwali gifts is a family gift. Diwali gifts is not an individual gift of the person who is there. We bring a spouse also there on the stage. We have Manju has created a program called Hum program. Hum is a program, a family program, which we are every year on the anniversary. Employee anywhere in the world receives a gift from us. So it's a fundamental part of the, and this process started way back in 2007, not today.
That's amazing. I think that's where innovation is showing up in the organization. Now, how do you measure it? How you know that you're improving every year? Do you have some measurement factors? And
as of now, we not put a measurement factor over there right now. Our measurement is more coming from the quality of the innovation which is happening in the company, the kind of AI we are developing, my R&D, what is the product competitiveness in the marketplace, my collaboration index between the various units which is there. So those are the indirect measurement, not a direct measurement on the well-being of the organization. Maybe if you have some ideas, I'll pick it up from you or anybody else in the conversation.
Well, some of the ideas are used here is looking at your absentees days. I think people are enjoying the number of absenteeism begins to go down. The insurance, the medical sickness days and the insurance bills, they begin to go down when employees' health is better. Now, for the emotional side, I feel I always used to measure the number of smiling workers. Whenever I went to an organization or factory, especially, number of people who are smiling, and that is not that common. And I think for intellectual wellness, of course, organizations like Larsen and Toubro, they have these leadership development factory, they call them, and bringing their employees and training them and sending them to good universities around the globe. And for a spiritual, I know there are some organizations in India who are introducing optional yoga, meditation in company time. I think employees are encouraged to do mindfulness training. In the West, they're calling them mindfulness more often. And there is still a little hesitation in using meditation. But anyway, I'll settle with mindfulness, which is close enough. But what are are you doing some of the things like that, yoga, meditation in your organization for employees?
Yes, those are the courses. Those run parallelly. The learning development department, the leadership, we have multiple level of leadership programs. Oxford, we call it Intellect Oxford Leadership Program for a senior leadership program, then manager leadership program. They're all encapsulated into a 6-module, then external programs. So it's a very well oiled machinery of development and which happens in the organization. On the spiritual side, we have some program in yoga and meditation, but we still don't see too much participation in a IT company. So we find very the people are about 50 years age, maybe taking some participation, but younger generation is still away from opting out for those.
I think if we can guarantee them moksha, then their enrollment will go up.
They don't know what do they mean by moksha?
Okay, let's come to a little bit to the external factors. I think when I was talking to Mr. Deepak Parekh, he mentioned that HDFC happens to be the only organization in India which offers ESOP to every employee. And is Polaris has any plans? Oh, sorry, Intellect has any plans like that for ESOP, or what are your thoughts on that? Financial wellness of employees.
We had from the Polaris days itself, we had a Konak Trust started way back in 94 before stock options came in. I put my 10% stake in a trust, and that trust is giving a stock option to the employee way back in 94, 95. And so over the last 20, 30 years, we would have given more than 25% of the company's stake to the employee stock option plans.
Okay.
And as of now, also almost 25% people in the company have a RSUs, restricted stock option unit on financial wellness.
That's lovely. So now let's talk about a little bit about the occupational wellness. How do you encourage employees to discover their purpose? And I know some of your employees also are involved in many of these corporate social responsibility initiative. But how do you encourage them to discover their own purpose and find a way to support them in their purpose?
I think the whole performance development dialogue is designed for spotting the purpose. Our belief is when purpose aligns with the job he is doing, then it's not a job anymore. It's a fun for him. So, and that is where the performance development dialogue plays a critical role. And those are done by asking the simple question where a associate, don't call employee, we call associate. Associate has to write, I send them 10 questions and they have to respond in words, and I will write an equal amount of words for discovery note. So aligning more and more people towards the purpose and the organizational purpose is a core agenda for our talent practice or talent department in the company. We don't call it HR department, we call it talent department, because we believe every human being is born with a talent, he is not a resource. So we don't call it a human as a resource. Human is a talent, and how do you nurture the talent? Putting right soil into it. That's what the whole department is designed for, looking at it. And social responsibility wise, when we are looking mission samriddhi, going to rural India, engaging them into, so it's not a corporate social responsibility. Again, corporate social responsibility is a word which is a taboo. To me, it has to come from the heart. And we have an initiative way back from 25 years old back, when we wanted every employee of the company should mentor a child at a 9th standard. At a 9th standard, we call it Ullas Trust, where he mentors a child. He's like a akka, anna, or bhaiya, didi for the 9th standard student. And for next 12 years, next 4 years, he's a mentor for him. And that process is mutual learning process. The more he teaches, more he learns from the student. And it gives a humility to him. So there are many programs that are running 25 years back on this social responsibility. To me, social responsibility is the learning kitchen in the organization.
No, I love some of these subtle changes you're bringing by changing like talent and changing the names, because it's all adding up to the same concept of changing the self-identity of individuals. And I think this social participation also encourages social wellness of employees. But I have kept the most challenging one for the last, and that is the environmental wellness. And now we are, environmental, which is surrounding us, and also environmental at large. And I think more and more people are getting aware that environment is going to be a major issue and number one issue, and especially in India. I think the way I think AQI and the pollution. So what can the corporations do, and what can the employees, the associates do for environmental wellness?
I think this environment as an issue, Dinesh, 5 years back, I also never understood. It was a good fad word. We discussed on a dinner table around the glass of wine. But what does it mean to us was not known to me. Unless I visited the villages, unless I visited a tribal areas, look at the water issues there, look at the only one crop a year, looking at the suicide happening there because of the lack of water there. I think this cannot be taught in any corporate unless people experience themselves. It's a learning process which will never happen from TV channels and media, news. It's a lip service. Then I learned the value of the organic farming when I visited with one of our mentors who does agriculture soil, and he said, Arun, smell the soil. This is soil which is organic soil, and this is soil which is chemical soil. To me, I never felt that there's a two different smell in the soil. He said, this is a soil where so many leaves over there, and it really smells so beautiful, different from a chemical soil. But there should be some teacher there to tell you that there's a difference between the two kinds of soil and they smell differently. They produce differently, we know about it, but they smell differently, we didn't know about it. And that is only possible when we work with the tribal people and go over the weekend instead of all the time to some fancy place for visiting. Take out the people to rural India, and they go near village, spend 2 nights there. It's a complete transformation of the environmental issue. So I would say we are leading, myself and Manju, most of the time, at least 3-4 times a quarter, we go to some village in Madhya Pradesh or UP or Maharashtra, stay with them in those locations. That is bringing my awareness better. Since my awareness is improving and I am sharing my awareness with all the employees, and I'm sharing my stories. I'm not sharing any lecture that it's important or not. I'm sharing story, how are we organic, how did I experience the soil, how I experience the organic vegetable in the farm, and how do I experience when we dig the farmhouse there. I feel learning process sometimes happens by the leader to tell the stories, not give the preaching to anybody else.
No, that's remarkable. And thank you so much. You have shared the wealth of knowledge today, and I learned a lot. And I'll tell you, next time when I come to India, I will probably visit. I'll coordinate with you. And if you're going to a village, I'll go with you and experience that, because you are absolutely correct. If you want to empathize and develop understanding, that is the best way, to just go there and just experience it. So the time has gone by quickly, but thanks for your valuable time. Any parting thoughts?
The beautiful thing, I would think, the rural India is 100 million, so 1 billion people is in rural India. There are only 400 million people in urban cities. Unless we solve the rural India problem, urban India is in trouble. Sooner or later, we need to understand how the clustered community development process happens at the rural India. We stop giving aids and subsidies to the rural India. We start making their self-image by promoting the well-being of each individual in the village, their self-image in the village. They should not be looking like a beggar. The word gaon means poor is a wrong myth. They are more richer than us in their well-being. But we need to understand that economic wealth is not the only wealth. When we go there, the love, what they have, the compassion they have, is more than any urban city people are there. So I think we need to learn jointly with rural India and urban cities.
So we need to think of the true wealth, not only the economic wealth, the tangible and the intangible. Thank you so much, Arun, for your valuable time again, and look forward to visiting a village with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye.